Welcome everybody to the special edition of Conversations with Changing Streams this morning with Petya Georgieva Miller, who is the author of Healthy Earth, a book explaining sustainability to children without causing eco-anxiety. So it's great to have you with us this morning, Petya. So tell us all a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's so nice to meet you and to be here with you. I have a very eclectic background. My career started in communications and advertising and marketing and PR. So I've been doing this for around 14 years. And during this time, I was working with a lot of nonprofit organizations. I was doing a lot of corporate social responsibility campaigns. And all this prepared me to have this curiosity about the environment, about animal activism and climate change. And during all those years, also I started studying psychology, which really then opened my eyes about what I really want to do with my time, with my job. So after 12 years into advertising, I decided that I want to change that chapter, put an end to it, and decided to transit to climate conversation, climate change, and in general, the climate sector. So I've been supporting a lot of small, purposeful businesses and organizations. And I was studying a lot about climate change and how I can use my own experience as a communicator to bring awareness, to shine a light on different topics. And while I was doing that, I actually found an amazing research from UK. You're doing a lot of research and studies. The climate topic is very, very hot in UK. And I found this research. It was called Nightmares Before Bedtime. And it was saying about all the children that are really, really scared about climate change and that they're very anxious about it. And they're reading these books that are focused on the environment, but they're also bringing the worst case scenarios, and they're very scary, and they're provoking this rise of eco-anxiety among children. So I was thinking, my creative part was really awakened in this process when I was researching and reading. And I thought, what if I make a book that tells a positive story that gives us practical ways that we can be more sustainable and live more eco-friendly? And is this going to help lower the eco-anxiety? And coming from psychology in general, when you're scared about something, you become less anxious about it when you put your fear into action. The fear should be the generator to something positive. Perfect, yes. So I decided to do that, and here's the book.
Fantastic. I hope you see it. It's amazing. So many people from Changing Streams bought it at Christmas when we were talking about it last. So it's great.
Thank you.
For anybody that hasn't bought it, it's a great, and can't see the pictures if you're listening to us as the podcast, it's an amazing interactive colouring book with lots of different tools, isn't it, Petya, that really takes that anxiety out and makes it a little bit, I suppose fun is maybe not the right word, but it makes it a little bit more accessible, doesn't it? I think when you talk about nightmares before bedtime now, with the increase in awareness, and a lot of the work that we're doing with Changing Streams is about making people think, a lot of that thought-provoking stuff. We forget the impact that having all that thought-provoking stuff out and all the information that was on the news and on the television around COP26 recently, that eco-anxiety, we forget about children. We're all very focused on an adult conversation, but we forget that, we do all talk about it from the perspective of building a future for our children. That is the generation we're trying to help and sort everything out. But we forget about that anxiety part that it can cause, as you say.
And they talk about the environment in general at school. The children are really aware of what's happening because they study in geography, in history, biology, chemistry. So they have an idea about what's happening, and trying to isolate them from the conversation and to protect them so that they're not scared is not the right solution, because the problem exists. So we can't live in a bubble where climate change is not happening and not discuss it in the terms of a family, school community, friends community. So The approach that I did for the book was to include art and play as part of the studying and the learning process. So that's why I included illustrations that are tailor-made by my friend Ivy Vasileva.
Oh, that's the B. That was one of the things that Leo mentioned. Leo Aspen, who works with us, was that Be Fantastic, Stop Plastic, which was the page you were just showing. Yeah, we got quite excited about some of the drawings. We're all adults, but we're all quite into the whole. Yeah, we'll like to color it in as well.
So yeah, the idea was that when you read about what you can do, what you can practice in your everyday life, and this can be read by a parent or teacher or the child themselves, and then you can play with the coloring page, and just through painting and coloring, you are like repeating that message that you just read or that you heard. So it's a really good technique in psychology in general. It's helping with gaining focus, calming down the brain, the mind, the racing thoughts, because you just focus to not go out of the lines. So it's really relaxing, and in general is good for both adults and children. So that's why I wanted to use this technique from psychology and incorporate it into learning about how we can be active and help the environment, and just not be scared about what's happening, just not to be paralyzed by all the information around us.
Fantastic. And is there any sort of key elements, or rather, are there any key elements of the book that you think will really resonate with the younger audience? Because obviously it's aimed at quite a young audience, but when we come towards teenagers and young adults, are there messages in the book that are still going to resonate with that age group as we build those them into young adults that are going to be really strong environmentalists for us?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't put an age group on the book because when I was I lived like a nomad for 3 years, and when I was traveling, I met with a lot of children and parents, and while I was doing the research, and I saw that a lot of adults didn't know some of the tips in the book. Yeah. So I was like, there's no shame of admitting that you don't know something, because you're willing to understand it, to learn more about it. So I saw a lot of my friends using the book just to learn for themselves during the pandemic, and just to relax and to like do something productive. Fantastic. So definitely it's packed with more than 60 tips. I see a lot of them are going to resonate even with older children. Definitely, there's a lot of ideas on how to treat food, how to lower food waste, how to take care for bees, how to commute to work or to school. It's a lot of general topics that are useful for everybody, not just for children.
No, it sounds like one of those really interactive books that the whole family can get involved in, that everyone will take something away from it. I love experiences like that with children where the adults take something away from it as well as the children. So I think, yeah, absolutely. And a lot of adults, as you say, through the pandemic did take to doing a little bit of colouring in, a little bit of calm the mind. It's been a crazy time for a lot of us, hasn't it? So, and I think it has brought sort of environment and climate to the forefront as well, with people being out in the fresh air and hearing more birds singing and less litter on the streets, and really just having that time to, you know, whilst none of us would have wanted this learning experience that we've had, it has kind of been a little bit of time of reflection for a lot of people, I think, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And as I call it, it's been a blessing, like a blessing and a lesson.
Yeah, blessing. Yes, I like that. Yeah, it's a new phrase for the day for anybody listening. It's definitely a blessing. So I believe you have some slides that you're going to take us through, which will be amazing. So hopefully you'll all be able to gain the benefit of these. So I will hand over to you. Hopefully you can share your screen.
Yes. Just need a second. Okay. Can you see it?
I can, yes. Perfect.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, I prepared just several slides just to go through, and they're mainly like a strategy on how to handle the conversation about equal anxiety with children and young adults in general. And I was thinking about it because it's something that we need to discuss with kids. And as you said earlier, the book is an engagement for the whole family, because climate topics should be engagement for the whole family. The whole household should be deciding how to cope with them and how to contribute to the community and to just being more sustainable on daily basis. So I decided to first formulate how we see eco-anxiety and what are the feelings that come with it. And we can be feeling scared, anxious, angry as well. We can be feeling powerless and hopeless and depressed. And this can lead to either too much sleep or lack of sleep, and it can lead to panic and anxiety attacks. And for those who will be watching this presentation, I just want to say that the pictures that I've used are from the big climate strike end of September 21 in New York. I was there with all the kids, and I just wanted to feel their energy and see their messages and their behaviors. And most of them were very optimistic, which was really, really nice to see. But I'm sure all those feelings are known to all of them and to their parents and their psychologists. It's important to note from the very beginning that this is not a clinical condition. This is just a new term that was invented in 2017, I think. And it's all because more and more psychiatrists are sharing that their patients, children and adults are talking that they're feeling anxious about the environment. And a lot of those research is happening in UK, which is really amazing to keep an eye on and to know and to read it and to follow that statistics. And to generalize, it's around 75% of teens and young kids and young adults are feeling scared about the future. And I got some quotes here. Of course, everybody can read them on their own if they're looking at the presentation. But in general, hopelessness and helplessness is the leading topic. And that's why it's important in those conversations that we have with children to give them the tools that will empower them to know how to act on climate change and to just give them a direction that they can follow and navigate through this scary topic. In general, I think that there is good in the bad because we see a generation of a young generation that is really empathetic and humane, and it's aware and socially engaged, and they care and they're willing to help and they're proactive. And I think this is very hopeful to see in younger generations. So it's not all bad. It's not all black or white. Of course, just like everything in life, it's a mixture. So I think this potential to build agency in the young children, I think this is something amazing, and we need to respond to it properly. And I think that's why it's really important for teachers and parents to not avoid the topic about climate change, but to hold space and to have caring conversations and try not to overly protect children from the bad topics, but of course to talk about them, but in a way that will empower them, not in a way that will add extra stress and anxiety. And that's why I created the book. And I think that this presentation has a lot of other techniques that can be used for parents and teachers to handle the conversation and to even to admit that they're not climate experts and they want to learn together with their children or students. I think this is really important to show, to lead by example, that it's okay to not be informed about everything in this world. It's okay to have lack of knowledge. And the proper response to that is to be curious, to be open-minded, to learn more. And that's why it's important to act in the community, in the family, in the household, to adopt green practices, to be part of different activities and activist actions and movements, and just to be involved and engaged in whatever is happening around you, because there's always something going on. It can be a beach cleanup, a park cleanup, a protest, some different initiatives. There's always something happening, and we can also organize them on our own. We can do clothes swap in school. Instead of buying new clothes, we can like encourage our kids to share the clothes that they're not wearing, or anything else. We can take care for food, how to lower food waste. And yeah, I just wanted to share about the self-efficacy theory in psychology, which I think everybody can read about it. It's very easy to understand. It's empowering people to believe that they can change the environment that they live in. And I think this is really important right now for both adults and children to tap into this message that it all depends on us. Yes, a lot of bad stuff has happened because of a handful of organizations and companies and people, but we are more than them, and our actions can provoke really a big wave of change. And it's important just to share the knowledge that we have and to be proactive, because this will be contagious for good change among the rest of us. And before we focus on how to approach the conversation about eco-anxiety, I think it's really important to first focus on the healing. And it can be through yoga and meditation, through art, like my book with the coloring, but it can be any type of art, music, performances. And of course, it's important to get in touch with nature, because that's the most, I think, calming effect that we can have on the mind, is just spending time in nature and recharging and remembering why we're doing what we're doing. And as we said earlier, I talked about the mental benefits of coloring. It's really empowering. It helps the children to focus, to it's very good for the mind of the perfectionists, because perfectionists really want to have a beautiful, perfect, finished painting, but how much time it will take for this to be achieved. So it's really nice when you color, and when you don't have, you're not overwhelmed to decide about everything that goes on the white paper. You just have the navigation to go and follow the lines. This is really nice to just have this feeling that you have achieved something, you have produced something beautiful. And it's really powerful on the mind to be in this state of flow where you're doing something effortlessly, but it's also bringing satisfaction and peace of mind, and really it having great effect on children. Yeah, I got some amazing reviews here about kids with attention deficit and who don't like coloring but still get engaged in this book, and then try to implement the tips from the book. And that's what the main message is, that we should turn fear into action. It's really important when combating anxiety. And depression is very passive, but anxiety comes with a lot of like nervous feelings. Sorry about that. No. So anxiety comes with a lot of nervous feelings, and it's important to not allow them to spiral in this bad conversation, but everything is doomed, but to give them direction, to follow some kind of action, and just to turn fear into actions. That's the most important. And all actions have impact. So if we focus on the positive ones, will lead to positive change. And that was actually one of the hopeful conversations at COP26, when all the female activists gathered, and they were talking exactly about the impact of actions, and that it matters that individuals also take responsibility about their carbon footprint, about their behaviors on a daily basis. So I really recommend this conversation. It was really inspiring and hopeful, which is important to feed our brains with hopeful ideas, not just with the bad news that we're surrounded with. And here I gathered several slides with the practical approaches that parents and teachers can use, starting with accepting that kids know about climate change, and some of them will be depressed, some of them will be angry, and some of them will have a lot of questions that we won't be able to answer. And as I said, it's really important to show for parents and teachers that they want to learn about climate change, and that they want to help with holding space for conversations, and that they encourage kids to volunteer to be activists, but they also can help children with more structured ways to handle climate anxiety, which are like, let's set goals, let's decide this month what will be our sustainability practice, or what we want to achieve with all the stuff that we have that we're not using here at home, what we want to do with it, or how can we use the car 2 days less this week. And all these strategies and goals setting are important to happen in the household. And then it's also important to show support, to express for parents and teachers to say that they're proud of the activism that their kids are doing, and also to give them advice based on personal life. And what I love the most is, like, we can refer to history and bad stuff happening back in time and say, hey, look, this was bad, but it led to something nice. So there is hope. It's important to learn through past experiences as well. And other things that we can do is to read inspiring books, watch inspiring movies, try to have those types of events that provoke brainstorming and think of possible solutions. And just remind as well that changes take time, and youth comes with this feeling for impatience. And it's really important to keep kids grounded and say, hey, every change takes time, but let's keep doing it. Let's follow our progress together. Let's go to protests together. So it's really important. I think the parents who are going to win in those conversations are the ones that are going to be engaged and open-minded about climate change. And here are 2 slides with ideas for younger kids under 11 years old. There it's important to keep the art and play elements as part of the conversation, to keep all efforts local so that kids can see quicker results and they can see their impact on the local level. And it's valuable for children to be engaged at school and their community of friends, and to try different small activities. It can be just a topic for a birthday party. That's like, the topic is how we can save the oceans love, or let's try to have a zero waste party. All these types of small activities really help for everybody in the family, and it's easy to also follow progress together. That's why it's important to keep it local. And it's important to, again, like when we deal with teens, it's important to set goals as a family, and to always have those goals on shorter periods of time, like weekly, monthly, just because we need to remind them that changes take time. So let's focus on the smallest changes that we can accomplish together, and support us in every aspect of conversation is really, really important. Spending time in nature, and in general building healthy habits that are not just towards the environment, but towards their own mental and physical health, because healthy adults can be really healthy participants in the society. And it's really important to nourish those qualities in kids from very, very young age. And I'm happy to continue talking about this. And I'm sure that a lot of adults need help with handling their eco-anxiety. And this presentation was focused mainly how to deal with children because of the topic of my work. But I am really interested in also how to help adults. So Sarah, if you have any questions, or later if we receive comments from your listeners, it will be amazing you to share resources and just to brainstorm about this.
No, Petya, that was amazing. I think you answered probably any questions anyone can have, but I love the fact that, you know, it is really, you know, there's a lot of key messages that came out from that. And I love the fact that we can find some good in the bad of what's going on. And I think, you know, all of us, whether we've got young children at home or whether we're grown adults, there's always that element of how can we get involved? What can I do? And, you know, we hear it in conversations with industry, you know, where people say, well, yeah, but I'm not a big player. I'm only a little fish in this big pond. What can I do? And it is very much about, every day there is something small that you can get involved with, there is something you can do. And I think having the children with the book that's not necessarily for children, it's for families and adults, and giving them those tips that they can take away in their daily life. But then from your presentation, sort of looking at it and saying, do you know what, I don't have to be an expert in this, but let's have a conversation, let's make it an environment for people in the family or in schools where we can have that conversation and get these guys to feel empowered that they can do something, even if it is a small thing, changing their straws, all those kinds of things that get talked about. Those little things, you know, there was an old analogy, every little helps, and it's all about, you know, baby steps can take you a long way. And I love that when you talked about that empowerment, empowering them to feel like they are achieving something, that they can do something. And I think whenever you've got anxiety, whatever the situation is, there's an element, I think, of lack of control. And I think when you give some of those tips and things back to people to say, okay, you can't control the whole thing, but actually you can control what you're doing today, how you're working, like you said about like clothing swaps in schools and things. That's a brilliant idea. I'd like to do that with some of my colleagues as well. You know, it's a great idea of saying, we don't always have to go and buy new, we don't always have to go and do that. Step back and have a think. So no, that was amazing. Thank you so much. So I have two questions. One would be, if you could say anything to the audience today, what would you recommend they do? And then the next question is, how can we all go away and buy your book?
Thank you about that. Amazing questions. Yeah, I think reading and educating ourselves is the best we can do, because it will open the doors to many other solutions and ideas and hope in general. I think we do have power by who we vote for, who we choose to be our leaders, and also who we vote for with our wallets and money, and what businesses we support. And it's really important to stay educated. And I know it's on top of the to-do list of all of us. We're so busy, we have so many other problems in our lives, and we add one more, but it's really what will be the game changer for the next decade, where we have to really lower the impact of climate change.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Education is really, I think it's the most amazing example we can give to young children as well. It's like, let's learn together. Let's try to work on this together. Yeah, and the book is available in UK through our amazing partners from carbontrap.org. They help us a lot out of the goodness of their heart. They help us with providing the book on local level in UK, and yeah, I'm beyond grateful for all the support.
Yeah, no, they're great, aren't they? They're a great supportive bunch, the guys down there. Well, Petya, thank you so much for today. I think the slides really will resonate with people, and I would urge anyone that's listening to this as a podcast, jump over to our YouTube channel and have a look at the slides, you know, save all those screenshots, because there's some really interesting stuff there. And I think it's all very much centered around what we can do with that eco-anxiety and things that we can do day to day. But actually some of those tips are really, really positive tips generally, aren't they, about making time and educating and giving everyone that platform to see what is going on. It's not scary. It is scary, but there's things that we can do about it. So Petya, thank you so much. And I will end this special edition of Conversations with Changing Streams here. Thank you again.